So I'm here waiting for a Grubhub now. DoorDash, the schedule's up. I don't want to start another one. I'm just going to be working till 8, 7:40. So I figured maybe I'll just get a Grubhub. And I cut the other video out because I was talking about it, but I just lost train of thought. So I'm going to start over again. Anyway, that's the first app that I came across that I started doing for food delivery was Grubhub, and that was in 2018. And I was telling the story about how I found out about Grubhub. I was listening to a radio show. I can't remember what radio show it was. And the guy was interviewing someone or talking to someone on the radio, and the guy, I guess, apparently moved out of the city into the mountains, out in the country. And he was asking how he liked it out there, living out in the mountains. And he said, well, I like it, but one thing I do miss is Grubhub. And then I was like, what in the heck is Grubhub? I had never heard of it. So I went and Googled Grubhub just out of curiosity. And I found it was a food delivery app that was for people could drive independently, like you could use your car, like pizza delivery, but it was on an app. It was on on your phone, which I'd never heard of that. So I went onto some videos on YouTube to find out, because that's always where I go when I find out about something. YouTube will have someone talking about it, and I found a guy. So this is around 2018. There was a guy that used to be on YouTube. I don't know if he's still there, but he was probably one of the earlier, now they have all these YouTubers that do gig tubers, they call them. Back then they really didn't have all that. There wasn't a lot of people doing it. In fact, most people didn't know what it was. It was something new in the area, at least where I was at. It was fairly new. It may have been around for a while, but it wasn't like it is now. So I watched this video. The guy's name was, I can't remember the name of the guy. The channel was called Pay to Drive. The guy was out of New York, and he did it for a living. He was delivering Grubhub. And he talked about it and was talking about how it worked. It worked way different. It was a little bit different back then. So I was like, okay, I'll try that out. So I got lucky because the area I was at, because usually you have to get on a waiting list in most areas, I guess, because they only took a certain amount of drivers. It wasn't like DoorDash or Uber Eats. But I didn't have to get on a waiting list because they needed drivers in that area, so I got on right away. And then I don't remember exactly how it worked, but when I signed up, they set me up with to go down to the office. They actually had an office, if you can believe that. They don't have that anymore. They had an office where they had managers there for the area that managed that region. And I went down there, and then you talk to the guy, and they give you the bags, like the pizza bags and the food bag, with a logo on it. I can't remember what else they said. They just kind of explained the whole thing, and then you could call them. They were they were driver care, so you had any questions, you could contact that office. So you would contact that office, which was local, and if you had problems, they would help you with the problems, like if the restaurant was closed or whatever it was, or because it hadn't been around long enough. They probably had working on organizing it, and now it's been around so long that you don't really have to do a lot of that. And now you're just working with, it's a little bit different as far as who you call. I haven't had to call anyone on Grubhub as far as like back then. I'd call driver care, they called it. And at first it was someone locally, and then they had a regional driver care. I can't remember when they shifted that. And it was some guy that covered the region. And then I moved out here. That was a different city. I moved 2 different areas. I went to another city, which I tried to get on there, and they wanted to put me on a waiting list, so I couldn't get on there. And then when I moved here, luckily here they needed drivers, so I got right back on. And of course, when I first started here, they still had a regional driver care, I think. I don't know if it's like that anymore. I know, like Uber, it's all chat bots now, and you're not going to talk to anyone. But yeah, I used to have like local regional driver assistance care, or driver care they call it. So that was different, and the fact they had an office, and even in DoorDash, not like at one point had an office where you could get the bags and all. They don't have that anymore in each location. That doesn't exist anymore either. It's all kind of been worked through. AI's coming through, so they don't really work. It's just everything's just kind of getting more efficient. They don't need all that customer service like they used to have driver's assistants. So anyway, I started doing that, but that was the thing back then. Grubhub was the one people wanted to be on. They were paying, and they had really good payouts. I remember the payouts were really good when I first started Grubhub. I mean, I haven't really done a lot lately. That's what I want to do. I want to see how it is. That one looked okay, but the mileage is a little too far. But yeah, so that went for a while. Grubhub was a thing. It was like, you know. And then when I moved out of the area and tried to get into, when I went to a new city, I tried to get on there. I couldn't get on Grubhub, so I hadn't done it for a while. Then I came out here, and this was interesting. When I first came out here, they had I was able to get on Grubhub, and then they had this. They actually paid you, like, if you didn't get orders, they would you know, if you sign up for a blog, they would. If you're on that block and you're in the region, you they would pay you a certain amount per hour, you know, even if you didn't get, you know, they would cover your costs of, or they would make sure you got a certain amount per hour. I can't remember what it was. Hey, this is Daryl, Tippy driver, back on the camera. I've been driving around. I kind of figured I could see if I can get an order by moving the car, updating the Uber app. Is it updated? I think I'm gonna call it a night here. I'm gonna go one more time because I just wanted to get a Grubhub. That's what I was really interested in. I know I can get Uber pretty much anytime. There's seem to have a lot of those, and of course DoorDash. So I'm just curious, Grubhub, because it's the original app I've been on. Kind of curious about what's going on. I know when I did my last Uber. I know when I did my last DoorDash. I can't remember if I can go on. I'm not sure if on Grubhub I can go on there and see that exact date. I'd have to look, but Uber just shows you right there when you open it, the last one you did, the last order, which is actually a pretty good payout. And that was 5 months ago. Now DoorDash I do it regular, so I just did one today and last week, and I pretty much do those on a regular basis compared to the other apps. But I'm trying to integrate these apps too. I'd like to do more Grubhub, see how that works, and then yeah, we'll see, because it's good to integrate, or it's good to have all of them. There's another app that I noticed that I signed up for. I did one a long time ago, and it was a decent payout, and it was delivering tires. It's called Sempex, and I see a lot of those come through the day. And so I'm going to try to do one tomorrow, but a lot of times it's just certain times of the day when usually it's picking up something like that, or picking up at Lowe's. And usually the payouts are much bigger. They're a little bit bigger because you're picking up freight like tires or like stuff, tools or whatever it is at Lowe's. And it's similar to Roadie, but the payouts, I think it was pretty good last time I did that. So I want to try that because I see a lot of business, but it's usually on the other side of town. That's why I don't take them. I don't really want to drive all the way to the other side of town. I want to stick around here, and if I see one in this area, which seems to me it's more busy on that side of town. Of course, that's with all these apps. It's over in the main part in the other city. It's in the busier section. So yeah, there's more demand there. So of course they're gonna need more drivers. I just stay over here. I'm not saying there's not demand here. There's demand here. It's just that there's more drivers here. They're more willing to, because it's more convenient here. The way the freeway's set up, and the roads, and the restaurants, and everything's kind of centralized. You're not going too far. One thing about this area here is you're not having to drive too far to do these deliveries. And it's the parking, there's traffic, but the parking and the way it's just laid out a little more convenient, the way the freeway's set up. Getting in and out of here, you can move around a lot faster. It's one of the more convenient cities I've lived in. You know, as far as that goes, the way the roads are set up and stuff. So that's why people probably like to do it here, because it's less time. And then when you're doing these apps, it really is about your time management. It's how much time you're gonna spend in the restaurant, how much time you're gonna take to drive. That's why I kind of picked the dinner time here, because usually after 6 it's less traffic, so you're not having to wait in traffic, less people to deal with. So, but that's when people are ordering food. So you're less time, you know, sitting in traffic at the times. Getting to from here to your locations are faster, and the parking is easier. So it's about time management. It's logistics, it's time management. It's getting to places and convenient, and finding out where the places are going to pay, you know, the payments, how much you're going to get per mile. So you have to be cognizant and conscientious. What's the word for it? Cognizant of, when you're looking at your orders, you want to look at it and see the miles. You want to know the restaurants. You haven't kind of, when you're thinking about the restaurants in the past, like were there long waits there? When you start to find the restaurants, when you see that, oh yeah, that restaurant's not too bad. That neighborhood is it's easy to get in and out of. The mileage isn't too bad. I think I'll take that order. Like the last order I did, it was only maybe 2 miles from the restaurant. The restaurant was close to my house, so it was a total like 4 miles, and the payout was $10.25. So that's over $2 a mile. That's a good order. So you pick that one, you take that one, and you find another one like that, and so forth. And you pick the orders you want. But yeah, you want to make sure you're making you're covering your expenses and covering your time and the way you want it. Some people may go a little less. Maybe they're doing $1 a mile, but they're doing more orders. All right. See, now we gotta figure out how to get out of here. Let's see. No, I guess this way. I've been over here in a while. Okay, I just completed a Grubhub, and that's been a while. So that's the first. I don't know. I have to look, but it's been a long time since I've done a Grubhub, and that was a pretty decent payout. It was just down the street. Can't remember exactly the payout. It was over $8. I think it was $8.35 or $8.25 or somewhere around there. But for this close, that's a good payout because it was just. I'm just down the street, so not too bad. So that was good. I was looking to get a Grubhub. I haven't done one in a while, so wanted to get a good one. That was good. Maybe I'll continue to do some more Grubhubs because I've mainly been doing DoorDash, and I kind of want to switch it up a bit. So just to see that, because I haven't been on the app in a while. Like I said, Uber. I haven't been on Uber for 5 months, so I need to get back on Uber and do some of that. So that was too bad. Grubhub, we'll continue to go on with them. Maybe I'll do some more tomorrow. There was a couple Grubhubs that came up. They were just going too far. They were going all the way to the other side of town. This one was close. I want to keep within my area. I've been pretty successful doing that with DoorDash. If I could do that with Grubhub, just stick within this area, in this region. I don't want to move out of the region. Because then I have to stay in that area. Then I'll be fine, and I'll do those orders. So that was good. I'm glad I could do one of those. Now tomorrow I want to get Uber, just to experiment, see what kind of Uber I can get. And I'm also going to do some more Grubhubs, and of course DoorDash. But like I said, I want to switch it up a bit. I like to change up apps here and there just to get different perspective on, to see how they're doing. That wasn't bad at all. Like, you really have to go by the miles, and if you stick close by here, it's okay. So, not too bad. Heading home, it's getting dark. Unfortunately, my headlight, one of the headlights is, I need to replace the bulb on the, is that side? Still have to park here. Yeah, I need to replace that, or maybe the wiring's bad. I'm not sure. Possibly the wiring has the harness or whatever. I think I talked about that before. On my other car was like that, so I kept replacing the bulbs and they kept burning out until eventually I noticed the wire was melted on the Kia. So that was obvious. That could be the same situation here. I just haven't dug into it yet because I don't want to buy a bulb until I know that, because then I got to pay like $25 for a bulb and it just burns out. So if I could look and see if it's the harness, then I can get that fixed. It's a wiring connector. That's bad. But since it's light out till like almost, what is it, 8? It's 8:35. It's still light out. So the summertime, you don't have to worry too much because I'm not going to stay out much later than like 8 and 9. So in that case, I don't really care too much about bother with the headlight. I know in the wintertime you have to because it gets dark really early around here. And then it's all summer. It gets like June 21st. I think that's the summer solstice. It actually, I think it's, I don't know, it's like 9:30 or it's late. Like it's light out till almost 10 because we're way up north here. So yeah, it's pretty late. That's the longest day of the year. Summer solstice. So it's increasingly getting. From now, we're at the beginning of June, so we're like June 3rd. From now on, this whole month is just gonna get. Every day is gonna get, slowly. It's gonna be like 8:30. Used to be 8:30. Now it's 8:36. Like it's still light out. So it'll be like 9 o'clock and then 9:30. And then after the summer solstice, it goes the other direction slowly. Through July, it gets back. And by August, you're back to like, getting dark 8, and then eventually September is going back to, and you're going the other direction, then you're getting into winter. So I take advantage of these times where it's light out late to do the dinner deliveries, because then you don't have to worry about it. You can just find the addresses much easier. It's not as hard because it's light out. So this is the best time to do the time of year to do dinner type deliveries. Summer solstice. And then I gotta get the air conditioning looked at because it starts to get super hot around here around July. And if this air conditioning isn't working optimum, like right now, it feels like it's going on and off. It might be a compressor, I don't know. Then I have a problem. But I talked to the mechanic, and he does air conditioners. He'll do it for this car, and his labor costs are the lowest in the area, if not anywhere, all over. I mean, because he's got the best labor, his most reasonable labor costs out of any mechanic I know, and he's a really good mechanic. Very trustworthy. If you can find if you're doing delivery jobs and this is your kind of work you're doing on the side, or if you're doing it full time or whatever, and you're relying on your car, unless you're working on your own car, you're a mechanic. If you're not, you want to find a really trustworthy local mechanic you can trust, because you're going to have to rely on them, because driving your car all the time is going to cost you maintenance. So you want to have someone that's not going to charge you too much. And that guy, his labor costs are phenomenal for what he does, the work he does. Probably, I'm suspecting because of the overhead. He has a small shop, and it's great because it's right down the street. It's like I can walk to it. So when I drop my car off, I don't have to take an Uber or anything or get a ride. I just walk back home, and he's right there. And lucky I found him, but he has a small little shop. I don't know, it's just probably lower overhead than the bigger shop. So he can charge his labor charge. He keeps his labor costs down. So. And the fact that he does good work, and he always gives, like when he did the work on his car, he did the timing belt. He had all the parts laying out there, and he says, he shows them to you. You can have the parts back, the old ones, and so you can kind of investigate to see if and he can show you that he did the job. You know he did the job, and he's really honest about. Jesus, what the hell is that lady doing? Doing a U-turn. That's what a U-turn is. So he's honest and does a good job. That's like I say. He's working on a truck. He's working on the other car twice. He's working on this car. He gave me a warranty on the work for, I think it was 90 days. So far, so good. It's all good. Drives nice. So it's golden to have. I mean, it's like having gold to have a good. When you're driving, that's what you rely on. To have a good mechanic. I've been lucky. I've been fortunate that I found this guy, and because it's a new town, I don't know anybody in this town. I'm not from this. I don't have any ties or any relatives or friends or anything that I knew in this town, so I could give me a referral. So I was lucky to find him on just a whim, on accident. Because previously I had a mechanic he was a mobile mechanic who worked on my truck and the car and my other city, and he extremely honest, great mechanic. In fact, he drove out here when I had some problems. It was a long drive, and he came out and worked on it. He's a real nice guy, but I don't want him to have to drive out here. It's too far. So I was lucky to have him, and I found him on accident too. I happened to be getting rid of some scrap metal, and he was picking up scrap. So those two are good. And before that, I wasn't so lucky, but so far, the last 10 years, I've had really good mechanics. Can't say that in the past. So I keep giving him all my business whenever I need it. Whenever I need something on the car, I'm going to him, not anybody else. As long as he's in business, I'm going there. Call it 9-0 and tip your driver.